Okay, and you had said earlier that there's someone renting in your house. Who is that individual?
Oh, Lord. Do I have to go there?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
What's his or her name?
Her name's Portia.
And who and how do you know her?
She's the father of my child's wife.
Say that again? She's the father of your child's...
Of my child's wife. I became a sister wife, Mr. Brimhall.
Okay.
Clarify what's going on with that, if that's been resolved or if he's working anywhere. But at this point, state's just asking for final order to get this done with, and guideline support would be appropriate, I think, in this case.
All right, Ms. Valderas.
Thank you, Judge. I know this seems like a really complex case because it's gone on for so long and we've had a lot of developments over the course of that time. But I think if you look at the evidence that we're going to offer today, it will be clear that if we follow Texas Family Code, that it's a pretty simple case. The black letter law under 153.004 gives this court the option of naming a party sole managing conservator due to the history of domestic violence. Mr. Hatches has requested that an amended petition be filed on his behalf, and that was done so on the 20th to request he be named sole managing conservator. He believes it would be in the best interest of the child that he be named sole managing conservator, and that Ms. Hatches have periods of possession that this court deems appropriate. It's my understanding that Mr. Hatches believes that a standard possession order would be appropriate for Ms. Belvin. And under 153.004, the court can consider that commission of family violence in determining whether to deny, restrict, or limit the possession by the offending parent. And so I don't think it's out of bounds for Mr. Hatches to make that request. In fact, you'll hear testimony that the domestic violence wasn't a one-off situation. It was a continuing domestic violence situation that led to Mr. Hatches having to request a protective order, which was filed by the Bell County Attorney's Office, to help him receive some protection from Ms. Belvin's attacks. Now, that aggressive behavior wasn't limited only to attacks on Mr. Hatches, but also on 3 other people for which Ms. Belvin stood trial and was convicted of aggravated assault, a felony offense in Texas. And during the pendency of that criminal case, not only did she assault Mr. Hatches, she also failed a drug test, which was a violation of her conditions of bond in that felony criminal case. So I understand that sometimes courts don't feel like a failed drug test is necessarily a huge deal, but I think when you consider the fact that she was court ordered to not participate in any of those activities and did it anyway, when you pair that with the violations of the court's order in this case, it shows a pattern and history of refusal to follow the court's order. And I think it's in the best interest of the child that once we are done here and all the lawyers go about their business and these people are left to parent this child, that we can have some assurance that the parties are going to follow the court's order. I filed on behalf of Mr. Hatches back in January of 2023 an enforcement for several violations that had occurred at that time as well. And in the interest of trying to co-parent, Mr. Hatches chose not to proceed with having a hearing on that and asking the court to place Ms. Belvin in jail for those offenses. But nonetheless, we do still have that pleading on file to suggest that there is a history of refusing to follow your orders in this case.
All right. Is that it, Ms. Valderas?
I believe it is, yes. I would just ask you to take judicial notice of the disposition that I filed, proposed disposition of issues that I filed with the court yesterday, to outline what it is that we're requesting.
All right. You copied the attorneys and Ms. Belvin?
Yes, sir, I did.
Now the piece, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. Thank you. All right. Supreme Hall.
Thank you, Judge. In this case, I'm going to be echoing a lot of the requests that were made by Mr. Hatch's attorney. She did a wonderful job opening and explaining the issues. Ms. Belvin, in this case, it has gone on quite a while, and we have had multiple hearings. Indeed, there was a prior temp hearing that I believe was over an hour and a half, and I don't know if the court recalls that hearing. It was well over a year ago, but I think at that time my request was to change temporary custody to dad. Given her behavior at that time, I think her behavior has continued. The problems that existed at that hearing have only continued, and she has been convicted of a felony aggravated assault with a deadly weapon using a pistol and a pit bull. So she used those things to harm other people or threaten to harm other people, and I think that's a serious offense. I don't feel like there's any sense of accountability or remorse from her regarding those issues, and I don't think she has any sense of. I think she feels quite immune to this whole process, and that nothing can stop her from doing what she wants. That's my attitude when I've spoken with her in the past, and I believe she'll testify to various things that indicate that. My concern is that she has failed a drug test while on bond. I don't think she listens to court orders. I don't think she's listened to this court order. She has no-showed on multiple occasions for exchanges of the child. There was one particular exchange that was actually it was Christmas around Christmas of 2022, where the father actually drove all the way down to the halfway point, waited for quite a while, and asked where she was, and she said she intentionally wasn't coming and that she had intentionally, quote, ambushed him to waste his time and gas. That kind of behavior, I think, is really appalling. She's done it multiple times. I don't think she should be rewarded or I don't think any kind of benefit should accrue to her benefit based on her behavior in this case. And she has not attempted to co-parent in any kind of a reasonable way. She has harassed the father basically every turn. You'll see messages where she has called him very profane things, the N-word on multiple occasions, in addition to many, many other profanities as well. She has insulted his intelligence. She has harassed him. If the court will recall, Mr. Hatches was actually the victim of a criminal act himself up in Dallas during the pendency of this case. And there are messages from Ms. Belvin that indicate that he deserved that, that was like a godly punishment to him. She wishes him ill at nearly every turn. And I don't think that's great. That's not great behavior. So my requests in this case are quite simple. I think dad should get custody of the child in this case. Mom should be ordered to pay child support. There should be no retroactive child support granted. And possession and access, I'm not sure how it can be done given the fact that the mother in this case has shown that she's not inclined to listen to court orders. So any kind of recommendation regarding visitation, I have quite some concerns about, because I think that once she gets the possession of the child back, she may not turn the child back over, and we may be back here on an enforcement action. So I'm not sure how best to do the supervised visits. I think Miss Belvin needs to be thoroughly admonished that this court has the power and authority to make decisions regarding this child, and she is not in control of what this court does. And regarding the issue of non-disclosure, I have safety concerns for Mr. Hatches. So I would request that his contact information not be included in the order. I think Ms. Belvin's prior contact information has not been included in the prior orders. And so those are my requests. And this is all on behalf of the child. I think this is in the child's best interest to put him with his father.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Brumwell. All right, Mr. Hatches, Ms. John Baptiste Belvin, I need for you to both to unmute yourselves and raise your right hands, please. All right, ma'am, you haven't unmuted yourself. If you can't, if you have video, turn on your video, unmute yourself and raise your right hands, please.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Do you both solemnly swear or affirm your testimony you're going to give here today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. You're both officially earned the oath, and I'll go get your hands down, and I'll go ahead and if the state wants to defer to allow one of the attorneys, the ad litem or Ms. Balderas to start the questioning of the witnesses, I'll allow that. So at this time, Ms. Hubbard, do you wish to start, or do you wish to go ahead and allow one of the other attorneys to do so?
Your Honor, the state will defer to both attorneys and we can go last.
All right, then. Then I'll tell you what, the order will be Ms. Balderas, Mr. Brimhall, and then you, then, Ms. Hubbard, all right?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Balderas, call your first witness, please.
I'd like to call Gabriel Hatches, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hatches, you can, if you got a good signal and your video works and your audio works great, that'll be fine. If it's not, I think Ms. John Baptiste Belvin has some problems. So I'll allow her just to have her audio on and testify. But if you need just to go down to the audio, that's fine also. But this time, sir, please state your full name for the record, please.
Gabriel Lorenzo Hatches.
All right, thank you very much. Sounds like we got a good connection. You may proceed, Ms. Balderas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hatches, you are the father of this child that we are talking about in this case today, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you heard my opening statement in this case. Was there anything I misstated about the facts of the case as you know them?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So we've appeared for quite a few hearings on this case. In fact, I think this is our 16th or 17th appearance here. But back in March of 2022, you and Ms. Belvin worked out a temporary agreement in this case. Can you remember that far back to that day?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So prior to that, Ms. Belvin hadn't been allowing you any possession of the child, correct?
No, ma'am.
So the reason for your temporary agreement in this case was that you would have some access, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it important to you to establish paternity so that you could have a relationship with King?
Yes, it was.
Can you briefly describe your relationship with Miss Belvin at that time?
It was very rough and rocky.
So by the spring of 2021, things had gotten pretty bad and you had to seek court intervention, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was for a protective order filed in the 146th District Court, and also a copy was filed with this court, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I apologize. I don't try a lot of AG Zoom cases. So how would you like for us to offer exhibits in this particular case?
All right, then. Let me go ahead and make you a co-host and you can share your screen at that point. You know how to do that? Okay, I'll go ahead and make Mr. Brimhall one too. I've already made the state one just in case I got kicked out. Somebody's got to be a co-host. Otherwise, this thing really goes south. So at this time, you should have been able to make a co-host, and you can go ahead and share your screen as needed, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Now, Mr. Hatches, are you able to see the protective order that's offered on the screen?
I did when you pulled it up. I was able to.
Okay. And you can see
it's not on the screen anymore.
I was gonna say, are you if you're using two screens, it may be.
Okay, yeah, I have three going, so I may not be able.
Okay, it's the one screen we can see is your desktop.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to move on because I know we have limited time today. But Mr. Hatches, you would agree that you received from the court in the 146th District Court of Bell County a protective order for a 2-year period, and that protective order expired during the pendency of this case, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And around the time that you obtained that protective order, is that when you learned that Miss Belvin was expecting a child?
Yes, I already knew prior to.
Okay, so the assault occurred, but you were both aware that she was expecting a child at the time of the subsequent assaults.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any concerns about your safety in trying to establish a relationship with that child based on the facts as we know them?
I don't have a concern so far as my safety. It was so far as the disposition at that time.
And were you guys still living together at the time you obtained the protective order?
Yes, we were.
Did you have any concerns about the safety of the child considering those facts?
Yes, I did.
And any concerns about Miss Belvin's mental health at that time?
Yes, I was highly concerned about that.
Now, did Miss Belvin ever threaten to place this child up for adoption to prevent you from having a part in his life?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so if I showed you a text message from her to that effect, that you do not believe that to be accurate?
I believe it to be accurate so far as the statement that she has made previously, but she's also made several other statements indicating that indicating that she wanted me to sign over my parental rights so I would have nothing to do with my child.
Okay,
On and on to that nature.
So she's requested that you terminate your rights, but also threatened to adopt out the child so that you wouldn't have a relationship, correct?
Yes.
Now, were you allowed to be present for the child's birth?
No, I was not. I wasn't even informed.
Okay, and
I
at
was
what
informed
point
a day later.
I'm sorry. At what point were you allowed to meet the child?
Roughly about a week and a half later is when I first got to see him and I met with her.
Okay, and were you living in Bell County at that time?
Yes, it was.
But you guys were not living in the same home, correct, due to the protective order?
That's correct.
So at our initial temporary hearing in March of 2022, you guys agreed that Ms. Belvin, you and Ms. Belvin agreed that you would have standard possession of this child, correct?
That's correct.
And did you agree to standard possession because you thought that would allow you some consistent access since you had been previously denied access to the child?
Yes.
And did you try to exercise first, third, and fifth weekend visits as ordered by this court?
I attempted to try for first, third, and fifth. However, I was unable to facilitate that every month on a continuous basis.
And was that partially because of Ms. Belvin's refusal to comply with the court orders in this case and make the child available to you?
That was partially part of the issue due to the job I had at the time, not allowing me to get off at a certain time in order to be able to pick him up, and they wanted me to drop him off earlier. And so her not showing up on time was a result of me terminating that job. Okay,
so did you quit that job or you were fired from that job due to the issues related to
I removed myself from that job in order to be able to retain employment for future tenses.
Okay. And so at that point, I understand you went to an attempt to do one visit a month in hopes that she'd be able to comply with the court's order once instead of potentially 3 times a month with the visitation schedule.
Yes.
Okay.
To at least simplify it.
So for the purpose of simplicity, 1 weekend a month. And how did that work?
It really didn't.
Okay. So from your experience, it didn't cause her to come more into compliance with the court's order or make things easier and more likely for you to actually get your visitation, correct?
That's correct.
Do you even know how many times you've been denied access by Ms. Belvin at this point?
I used to keep track of it, but I crave myself to be very tired of trying to keep account. I just keep accountability of what time I get there, how long does it take, and she show up, she don't show up, take pictures, video footage, so on and so forth.
Okay, so your standard practice at this point is that you really don't even know if you're going to get to see your child on your court-ordered visitation days, right?
That's correct.
And so you're throughout this case, I mean, I know it's been like an abnormally long case, but you just kind of established the practice of having to document that you were there, and then if no one shows up, then you just go back home.
That's correct.
Do you have any interest in terminating your parental rights?
No, I do not.
And have you ever told Ms. Belvin or anybody else that you wanted to do that?
No, I have not.
Since the temporary orders were entered back, the original temporary orders back in March 2022, have you missed any child support payments?
I have missed child support payments, yes.
And why did that happen?
That happened due to the particular time where I got physically shot in Dallas, and that set me back from financial income and stability.
Okay. Are you current on child support? I'm sorry to cut you off. Are you current on child support at this time?
Yes, I am.
Are you paid in advance, in fact, on child support at this time?
I may be, because I wanted to make sure that I would never fall behind. So I may be maybe $5 ahead.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you were shot, and I assume that required you to enter the hospital and stay briefly. Did you notify Ms. Belvin that this had occurred?
I notified her that I was hospitalized. I did not notify her as of what for or what the reason was, because at the time I didn't know who to believe or who had interaction or what was going on. So she was aware that I was in the hospital.
Okay. So your purpose for notifying her was so that she would know that you weren't going to be attending the upcoming visitation for King, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any concerns about Miss Belvin having part of that assault on you?
At first, I kind of consider it due to the strange messages that were received on her behalf, instead of a general understanding of what everybody else that's human would understand. Someone get injured, they're in the hospital. She failed to comply with that. Instead, went the opposite direction, as if she was more directed in a negative way.
So she didn't seem to have any concern for the fact that her child's father had almost been murdered, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. But at this time, somebody has been arrested in that crime, and it is not her, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So at least at this point, it sounds like the police handling the issue do not believe that she was a part of that attack, correct?
That is correct.
Now, have you fully recovered from your injuries from that day that you were attacked?
Yes, I am.
And you're currently working?
Yes, I am.
Can you give us an idea of what your income is on an hourly basis or monthly, depending on what information you have access to?
Currently, I'm only getting paid $20 an hour in a 40-hour block week.
Okay.
I'm generally at average before taxes, before insurance and all that comes out. I'm generally coming in maybe about 33, 34, maybe, if I'm lucky.
So that's $3,300 a month, and that's gross. That's before taxes, correct?
Yes.
Are you behind on any of your household bills?
I was. I'm not anymore.
Okay, so you've been working to catch up on household debt and personal debt and child support, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So once you got out of the hospital, I assume that your job wasn't able to hold that position for you while you were in the hospital, correct? Your prior job.
They were holding the position until I went and applied for Social Security unemployment, and they notified me that they had to terminate me in order to facilitate that. So I got denied on unemployment. But they did allow me the opportunity and still have the open opportunity for me to return back to that place of employment.
Okay. And that's a local job there in Dallas, correct?
Yes, it's within an hour and a half away, almost an hour and a half away.
So have you seriously considered, if this court determines it's in the child's best interest to name you primary conservator or give you sole managing conservatorship, returning to that position there since it's local to Dallas?
I have considered it, and I've also talked to several of the employees there as well as the business owner. They keep informing me, keep my head up and so on and so forth. Just give us a call ahead of time. Should you need to be reemployed here and so on and so forth.
All right. What is the name of the company you work for as of today?
Spinnaker Oilfield Services.
And does Spinnaker have any employment opportunities close to home?
The closest location that they have would be Reno, Oklahoma.
Okay. And about how far is Reno, Oklahoma from where you live in Dallas now?
Just about 4 hours, just under 4 hours.
Okay. So you're looking, I assume, at transferring back to your old position or another similar position in Dallas, correct? If you are given the opportunity to be the primary of kin.
I'm looking to retain my same position, but they're unsure of what they want to do with the upcoming placement that I've been striving for. So I don't know. I'm still waiting on the final word from that because we had another company that just bought us out at the beginning of this year. So it's been an uphill battle of trying to get things understood and having to change people that I had conversations with in order to understand my particular situation and my disposition.
Okay. So you're not looking to move out of state or move away from Dallas or anything like that, correct?
No.
And throughout this case, how many places have you lived? How many homes have you lived in while we've been doing this case for a couple of years?
Only in Dallas.
Okay.
In Dallas and Burleson. It's only two places I had homes.
Now, has Ms. Belvin ever notified you of any medical appointments for the child so that you could attend those?
No, she has not. Well, actually, let me take that back. She did notify me of one appointment, and it was a dentist appointment. The agreement was before arriving down there, we were going to the dentist appointment. I meet her there, and I would get my son for that evening to spend time with me and his grandfather, and then we'll bring him to his birthday party the next day. That didn't happen. She called her aunt and had her intervene and take my son from me, leaving us with question marks.
Okay.
So we wound up not.
So when did this dentist appointment occur?
That was 2 years ago.
Okay. And it was about this time of year, right? Because King's birthday is in September.
Yes.
Okay. And it was your agreement that you would come down and attend the appointment for the child's dentistry, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you agreed to do that?
Yes.
And you were going to stay here in Bell County and spend time with the child for his birthday and attend the birthday party, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then that sounds like that didn't happen because of a unilateral change in plans by Ms. Belvin.
Yes.
So 2 years ago is the last time that you were notified of any medical appointment or dental appointment or, given the information to be able to attend, correct?
That's correct.
Do you think it's important for you to have information about the child's medical and dental information and have the opportunity to appear for those visits?
Yes, notified early and explained as of details I'm needing to know.
Okay. So are you aware of any diagnoses this child has received as far as being on the autism spectrum or having Asperger's disease or anything like that?
Only thing I was notified is what was stated in court on our last I think 2 settings ago, in which I've still yet to receive any kind of paperwork or notification of what doctor did the diagnosis or any testing that has been done.
Okay.
Still waiting.
Have you noticed any potential medical issues with King during your periods of possession?
I did notice that he has a delay of timing of speech, but a lot of the issue is dealing with, he will repeat, he will talk, but he'll only talk what he says by, watching baby shows or things like that. Or he'll repeat, what we say out loud, especially when we're directed to him. So I have noticed that when he's pretty much all by his lonesome, he's not trying to complete full sentences, and he's not being worked with. Not as he was when he was here.
Okay. So do you try to work with him? I mean, I know that your time with him is somewhat limited, but during longer periods like the summer we just had, did you guys try to work on his speech development and things like that?
Yes, I also have a friend that's she's a student instructor. Well, I ain't gonna say a student instructor. She's a teacher. She's a teacher for the school district out here, and she's been working with him with his ABCs and things like that, breaking sentences, as well as his grandfather, myself, and his sister.
Okay. So has Ms. Belvin made you aware of any ABA therapy that the child has to attend visits for, or anything like that that would help him improve on his speech issues? Any speech therapist appointments that you needed to get him to during the summer periods or anything like that?
No, she did not.
When you have King with you, like for the longer periods for summer and that, can you describe what type of activities you guys do together?
Well, during the summer, when I'm not working, I try to plan things ahead of time. Like this past summer, we went to the Typhoon, Texas, in Austin, and let him figure out what the waves were. Got a kick out of that. Just spent the whole day of it.
Is he kind of an outdoor child? He enjoys outdoor type activities?
He loves outdoor activities. I try to keep him out the dirt, keep him from getting bit up.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you have any other children that live in your home?
I do.
Okay. Can you tell me about your other children?
My daughter is 17 years old. She's about to graduate. I just got her from her mother. She is extremely bright and smart, but she really cares only to know more and more about her family. She's excited about her brother and meeting all this part of her family. So it's just been a whole fun summer, even playing with her brother, because she would not let him out of her sight, or nobody else pick him up.
It sounds like she and King get along well. Do they spend a good bit of time together whenever both are in the house?
Oh, he don't leave her side. He hold on to her thigh, and if she ain't in the same room and she go to sleep, he go into bed. He go hop in the bed with her, and he watches little cartoons on the little iPad. I just leave him be. He don't bother nobody.
All right. So since King has turned 4 recently, have you looked into any Head Start or pre-K programs in your area for him?
I have, as well as hospitals and as well as doctors as well. Because the main hospital, especially because it's been stated that he has autism, I looked into several different hospitals out here that are pretty much all in one. And it's an autism and development disability that's on Mockingbird Lane in Dallas. Okay.
So it sounds like you have some good resources there should you need them for him, as far as educational and medical issues go. About how far is your house from the school he would be attending?
So when I when I went up there to the school that I looked at is about it's really right around the corner, not too far from Skyline High School where my daughter goes.
Okay.
And once she starts driving, then she'll be able to pick him up from school on her way home. Or their grandfather will pick him up if I'm not off working time.
Okay. How would you describe co-parenting with Miss Belvin?
It has gotten a little hint easier.
Okay.
It's not so vulgar anymore, but it could be a lot better.
Okay. Are you committed to working to help continue to improve that relationship so that you guys can co-parent better and easier and in the best interest of this child?
I'm open to all possibilities as long as they remain positive.
Okay. Do you think it would be wise, considering the history, for you to continue using the AppClose application for all communications relating to the child?
Yes.
And do you also agree that having any exchanges occur in a protective setting or something like a police station or a public place with cameras would probably be in the best interest of the child as well?
That would be a must at all times.
And if this court determines that Ms. Belvin should be primary conservator of King and that you should have visitation only with him, if you guys end up living within 50 miles of each other in the future, would you ask this court to award expanded standard possession schedule of that child to you?
Yes, I would.
Okay, I'm going to pass the witness.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to try and share my screen and talk about a few different things. Number one, let's see. I'm going to share. Okay, so this exhibit here is the application for the protective order that you testified about, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And I think it's been labeled as DAD 1, Respondents Exhibit 1. Is this a true and correct copy of the application for protective order?
Yes.
Okay. And here on the very back is an affidavit from you, right? That was
Yes.
attached to the application. And here there's these two sections here. The affidavit says, describe the most recent time that respondent hurt you or threatened to hurt you. Well, first off, I'm going to offer exhibit 1 or exhibit, whatever it's marked, father's exhibit number 2 into evidence as a copy of a public record. Judge, you're on mute. Sorry. Judge, you're on mute. Sorry. Here.
All right, it shows up as respondent exhibits DAD 1. That's what I'm going to call it. And I'll ask at this point, Ms. Hubbard, any objection to respondent's exhibit DAD 1 coming to evidence?
No objection, Your Honor.
Ms. Valderas?
No, Judge, thank you.
Ms. Belvin, any legal reason why this should not come into evidence, ma'am?
Of the protective order, sir?
Yeah, the affidavit from the protective order.
No, sir.
All right, it is admitted. You may proceed, Mr. Brimall. Thank you.
Thank you. And then at the same time, Mr. Hatches, what I have here as exhibit number 2 is the actual order from the protective order hearing. Is this a copy of the protective order that you received, Mr. Hatches?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And it looks like it's been scanned, but this is the copy that you have. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll offer this one as well as a true and correct copy of the protective order in the court's file for this cause number.
You scroll back down a little bit, Mr. Brimall. I think this is DAD
2. Dad's number 2.
Okay.
Or maybe the other one was Dad's
Yeah, the other one was dad's number 2. I'll need you for you to change this to dad's 1 or dad's 3, but I'll at this time call it dad's. Do you have a dad's 3 or a dad's 1?
I apologize. I'm borrowing the exhibits that were prepared by Miss Valadares. So there are, I think she numbered them 1 through 12. I have my own. I didn't want to duplicate the exhibit she had.
Okay.
So
Okay. I'll call this. I'll have this changed to dad's 2A. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
2B. Okay. So I'll go ahead and let you change this to dad's 2B. And at this time, Ms. Valadares, any objections to dad's 2B?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right then, Ms. Hubbard.
No objection, Your Honor.
Ms. Belvin.
No objection, sir.
All right, dash 2B is submitted. You may proceed.
And then I have one more, Judge. This one is a copy of the AppClose messages. Mr. Hatches. Let me get to the top of this thing. This one this one is marked on the bottom as dad 12. But Mr. Hatches, what is this?
Conversation between myself and Ms. Belvin.
Okay.
About the arrangement of the time and date.
Okay, both
court order.
Okay, both of y'all use this program AppClose, correct?
Yes.
And it looks like it has here on the document that you joined in March of 22 and she joined in May of 22. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And so this program has recorded all your messages since then. Is that right?
That's correct.
And this particular report was generated by you using the app. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. And how did you generate? Did you just click a button to generate it?
No, it's all formatted automatically. I just exported everything that was within the file.
Okay. Were you able to edit or modify any of these messages?
Not at all.
All right. And so all these messages that were sent between you and her, are these true and correct copies of all the messages in that app?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll offer dad's 12 as the AppClose record.
Great. Any objection, Ms. Valadares?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any objection, Ms. Hubbard?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Batiste.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Awesome.
Okay. All right. With that out of the way, I just wanted to get those 3 in real quick. Mr. Hatches, let's jump back to not this one, sorry. The application here with the affidavit attached. So the application here with the affidavit attached for the protective order, you said, Lachey hit me in the chest and put me in a headlock. We wrestled to the ground and she rolled on my arm and gave a rug burn to my arm. That's what it says in your affidavit. Do you recall when that happened?
That happened a day prior to me filing for this for the protective order.
Okay, so in your affidavit, you said 2/23/2020. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And this is just a bit before the birth of the child, right? The birth of the child was later on that year?
Yes.
Okay. And then going on here, item number 7, has a respondent ever threatened to hurt you before? You said twice. Around 1/24/2020, she hit you in the face, and around 9/23/2020, she scratched your forearms, busted your lip, and gave you a black eye. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Now this second one here, 9/23/2020, that occurred after the birth of the child, right?
20.
Because your child was born earlier that month, correct?
Yes. She scratched
All
my forearm.
All right. Now, I know it was a long time ago, but do you recall this incident where she scratched your forearms, busted your lip, and gave you a black eye?
That one I don't honestly recall.
It's been too long ago?
No, with that and being in a coma for almost 2.5 weeks. It's a lot of things I forgot in my memory.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's fine. And then this here, this is a copy of the protective order, and it lasted for 2 years. It lasted for 2 years and expired earlier this year, correct?
It actually expired, if I'm not mistaken, it expired 2022.
Sorry, it expired 2022, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And there was an exception specifically so that y'all could do DNA testing.
DNA test.
Yeah, and
That's correct.
And all right. And then this court made orders as well regarding visitation as well, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Have you sought another protective order?
No, I have not.
Okay. Do you have safety concerns for yourself being around Miss Belvin or being close to where she's at?
No, I do not.
Okay. So if you were invited into her house, would you feel safe?
No, I would not.
And why would you not feel safe?
Because I know what the capabilities of her individually are.
Okay. So I think your attorney asked for this already, but you are asking to meet at a police station to do all the exchanges?
Yes.
All right. And that could be pretty much any police station between where you are in Dallas and where Miss Belvin is here in Bell County, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, in a number of these messages here, let me jump through a number of the highlights, so to speak. Ms. Belvin has, she uses some colorful language. Is that true or not true?
Very true.
Okay. For example, right here on the first one, this message she calls your attorney a heifer, right? Numerous times, correct?
Yes.
She's insulted your attorney quite a few times. Is that right?
That is accurate.
And she's also talked about your mom, who's passed away. Is that right?
That is correct.
And she talks about your mom in a very like in a not kind way, right? She says things like, "You're going to wind up just like your mom," that kind of stuff, right?
Correct.
Okay. In these messages, has she called you a criminal?
Yes, yes.
All right. She's insinuated you've committed numerous crimes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Have you committed any crimes?
No, I have not.
Okay. Has Ms. Belvin committed any crimes to the best of your knowledge?
From previous to current, I have no clue, and I have no information on.
Okay. Are you aware that she was convicted earlier this year for felony charges in Bell County?
Yes, only notified by this court.
Okay. And that those charges were for second-degree felony, aggravated assault with a weapon. You understand that?
Yes.
And the weapon in particular that she used, she pointed a pistol at 3 people. You understand that?
Yes.
And she also used her pit bulls to attack other individuals as well at that same event. You understand that?
Yes.
So she used her pit bull to attack 1 person and used her pistol to attack 2. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding.
Do you have concerns about her using weapons in the future or using other items as weapons in the future?
I do, but I'm unsure of her mental status as of now versus back then.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's jump to want to jump to this message on September 17th. And there's a lot of these. Mr. Hatch, did you think
I've seen the preliminary items, Mr. Bremhall. I've seen you scroll through. So let's just limit this to the what you think is most pertinent, and let's just get a couple more of those, and let's move on. Thank you.
Okay, Judge. This one here on 9/17. This is part of a long conversation between you and her, but this message here, she says, "So keep coming for me and your son, Gabriel, and you will be the dessert or icing on the cake. So either keep up your narcissistic crap and die and be next to your mama permanently, or do right by your son and help take care of him and do right for once in your damn life. And you can live, you make your choice." Is that what she said to you? Did I read that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, to me that sounds like a threat. Is that how you took it?
Yes, it was.
All right, and later on that same evening, she calls you a bitch. She tells you to go F yourself later on, right? This is pretty typical of the way she communicates with you. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. In some of these messages, I'll highlight for the court's attention on.
Let's move on.
Okay.
This,
I do want to talk about
this
this.
is kind of piling on at this point. It's already in evidence.
Okay.
You can ask his testimony about the items, and let's just move on from this one.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough, Judge. I'm just going to point out this one here on December 30th. This pertained to an exchange that y'all were supposed to have. You were exchanging after the holiday in 2022, correct?
Yes.
And so you said here at 3:00 in the afternoon, we're leaving Dallas, see you at 6. And then you drove down there. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then she texted you at 5:40. And she said, "Oh no, I'm not here. You got your son for 2 weeks. Merry Christmas." And then later on, she says that she did this intentionally to, quote, ambush you. Correct? That was what she was trying to do. She wanted you to waste your time and money and drive down here, and she had no intention of telling you not to.
Yes, and I lost my job behind that.
So it's actually right here. She said, "Because I'm not about to hear any excuses from you, you turned it down, so I ambushed you." So let me ask you the obvious question. This isn't, in these messages, I think it's pretty clearly shown that when you're leaving Dallas, you text her when you're leaving. Is that true or not true?
That's true.
And then when you get to the West Police Station or wherever you're supposed to be, you text her as well, correct?
Yes.
And usually there's a follow-up message that says something like, "It's been 30 minutes or 20 minutes. Where are you?" Right? You do that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Oh, picking him up and dropping him off.
Right. For both ends of the exchange. When you're, this is your typical protocol. Is she doing that in these messages? Is she saying, "I'm going to leave Colleen right now. I'll be there in whatever time"?
No, she is not.
Has she ever given you in any of these messages? Does she ever say once, "I'll be there at this particular time. My ETA is"? Anything like that?
No.
All right. In fact, in these messages, there's at least 2 instances where she's just failed to appear. Correct?
Yes.
All right.
In one of those instances, I drove 8 hours and to make sure I was there on time.
And where did you drive from?
I drove from, I was in Missouri, the end of Missouri, and drove my truck all the way back to the yard, canceled the load, and rushed to get down there despite the traffic and the ice just to be there on time.
And she didn't show up?
No.
All right. On this particular day, on 9/9/22, this is another one. You said, "Are you close to the city of West with my son?" It's a typo. You meant to say son, but you said sin. "I've been here for 32 minutes, right? That's what you said on that particular day?
Yes.
And then it looks like you waited another half hour and before you finally said, "I'm going back to Dallas." Right?
Yes.
And then after all of that, she said to you, "Oh, after that tantrum, I ain't know if you were going to get him, so my bad. I hope you had a safe drive." Right?
Yes.
That's her attitude towards you throughout all these messages, is that she can do whatever she wants. Is that your understanding?
She's untouchable. Nothing will happen to her.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
And so your attorney asked you how many times, but it's at least 2, more than 2, because it's happened repeatedly, correct?
Correct.
All right. In these messages, she's also called you trash, called you sperm donor, correct?
That's correct.
She's used the N-word at least 3 or 4 times by my count, correct?
That's correct.
Is that a word you're okay hearing? Is that a word you're okay using?
It's a word that's not supposed to be used in this form of arrangement in terms of our child.
Okay. Do you have concerns that she's using this kind of bad language around King?
I know for a fact she does.
Okay. Do you have concerns that she's saying bad things about you too, King?
I do have a lot of concerns about that.
Okay. Let me bring you to another passage here.
Oh, Mr. Brimhall, come on.
I'm not trying to cover everything, Judge. I'm trying to make it real.
Yes, you are. So, Ms. Brimhall, I'm going to give you another 10 minutes on as far as your entire line of questions concerned, because I can do that. And so, whatever you do, but at 10:15, I'm going to turn it over to State. Thank you, sir. You may proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. Were you regarding your injury that you had? It was last year, correct? The one that you sustained when you were a victim of a crime?
Yes.
All right. And so these messages here on page 31, these all pertain to when you were in the hospital, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And so she initiates conversation with you and says, so you done with your excuses to spend time with your son? And you tell her, I'm in a hospital, right?
That's correct.
And you actually text her a picture, which appears on page 67 of your injury, correct?
That's correct.
All right. I won't show the injury because it is quite gruesome. But she then comes back and says it only requires a skin graft and outpatient care. And then here in this message, she says, damn, they got your ass good, but not good enough. Shaking my head. Is that what she said?
That's what she said.
All right. And at this point, you're in the hospital bed, right?
Yes.
Okay. So number one, I think it goes without saying, this is not the way you talk to someone that's in the hospital, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, how did you take all of this when you were sitting there?
I took it by a grain of salt as much as I could, because I was merely just informing her just so I can make other arrangements to get Junior to Dallas, i.e. from his grandfather picking him up and having somebody drive his grandfather down to pick him up.
Okay. Regarding your request to the court, do you want King to come and live with you?
I would like that very much so.
And what kind of house or dwelling do you live in?
3-bedroom house, 2-car garage.
And what city is it located in?
Dallas, Texas.
All right. And who lives with you?
My dad, my daughter, myself.
Okay. And how old is your father?
75.
Does he have health issues?
Very mild health issues.
Okay. Are you taking care of him, or is he fairly autonomous on his own? Is he able to do things on his own for himself?
He's fully able to do everything on his own.
Very good. All right, just asking. Regarding your house, is there a space for King in your house?
Yes, there is.
Does he have a bed to sleep in there?
Yes, he does.
Do you have clothes for him?
Yes, I do.
Do you know where the nearest pre-K, kindergarten, or school is to your residence?
Nearest pre-K to me that I went and physically toured. The nearest one is 3.2 miles from me.
Okay. All right. And he would be pre-K age, correct? Right now?
Yes.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
To the best of your knowledge, has he started any kind of pre-K program?
Only what I was informed by this court that he was in a school, but when I called that school, they wouldn't give me any information.
Okay. You had said that co-parenting was going well for now. Why do you think that is?
Due to the change of circumstances of Miss Belvin having another child.
Okay. Do you anticipate, well, first off, if this court gives you the child and the right to decide the residence of that child, do you anticipate difficulty with her?
I do anticipate it would be a little difficult, but I'm a uniform person. Timing is everything. She follow protocols and timing. We won't have no issues.
Okay. And in those messages, it's pretty clear that she does not follow always what the order is, correct?
That's correct.
And those, you can pretty easily deduce that from various comments where she says she's not coming or doesn't have to come and so on.
That's correct.
All right. Now, to this point, you've been meeting at West PD just north of Waco. How far away is West PD from your house? Like, how long does it take you to drive there?
Hour and 38 minutes.
Okay. And is that on a good day or a bad day? If it's a heavy traffic day, is it 20 or 30 minutes longer?
That's more so on a good day with light traffic and not really having to worry about much. But it gets longer and lengthier driving that far, and even with me mapping it out to the furthest location in Killeen, I still drive longer than she possibly does, and I still make it there above time.
Okay. Has there ever been any time where she was waiting on you?
There was only one particular time, and I was only a minute late getting off the highway.
Okay. And was there traffic that delayed your arrival?
That was the only thing.
Okay. Do you feel like Miss Belvin has harassed you like you personally throughout this case?
Yes.
In what way?
Verbal abuse, and stature, improper conduct for a parent.
Can you give me an example?
Choice of words around individuals, or better yet, say choice of opinions, as stated in the parenting app.
Okay. There's a number of long rants by her that take up at least 10 lines of text where she just goes off and says that God's going to get you for being a bad or evil person, correct?
Correct.
All right. Regarding various police stations that are closer to you, what police stations are closer to you?
Hillsborough Police Station is closer to me, in which that evens the drive time for both me and her.
How long does it take you to arrive at Hillsborough?
That'll take me an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. Are there any other police stations that you would recommend? Waxahachie. I'm assuming you're coming down 35 east, right?
Yes.
So you hit Waxahachie and a number of other little towns, like Italy and all those little towns on the way. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
At about 38 minutes of driving from the house, I'm at Waxahachie.
Okay. All right. What kind of vehicle do you have?
I have a 2007 Chevy Silverado.
And you said a 2007?
Yes.
About how many miles do you have on it? Do you know? Just off the top of your head.
247,000.
Okay. Is it in good condition, or what's the condition of the vehicle?
It's in good condition. I do the maintenance myself on it.
Okay. Do you have concerns that it'll break down imminently or not be able to do that kind of driving?
Not at current moment. I'm because I literally drive a 6.5 hour span one way in the truck with no issues.
Okay.
I just keep up on my maintenance.
Okay. All right. Is that your only vehicle?
No, I also have a 2016 Dodge Charger, which is I'm paying it off, and that's gonna be my daughter's car.
Okay. All right. Did your father drive?
Yes, he does.
Does he drive like that long of a distance? The 2-3 hour
He-
drive?
Yeah, he has. He also drives to Equipment, Texas, which is 2.5 hour drive
Okay.
to go
All right.
back home.
So he can do some long distance driving pretty easily then still. Yeah.
Yes,
Have you used him to help you with pickup and drop off at all?
I have, especially when I was hospitalized. I had him and a good friend of mine go down there to pick up my son.
Was
In
there
which
go on.
in which
Sorry.
she left him sitting there waiting for an hour and a little longer.
Did he finally obtain possession?
Your 5 minutes is you got 1 minute, sir.
Did your father get possession of King at that occasion?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
He brought him immediately to the hospital.
Okay. Apart from the incidents we've already talked about with her no showing, or have there been any other major developments between you and Miss Belvin of note that the court should know about?
None at this time.
And regarding app close, is that is your only method of communication with Miss Belvin? Is that true or not true?
That is true.
And is it true or not true that you do not want to talk to her except through that app? You don't want to call her or use regular messaging, correct?
That's correct.
All right.
Mr. Brimall.
All right, that's fine.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brimall. I'll allow some redirect if appropriate, but this time you're a witness, Miss Hubbard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Hatches, since obviously there was a pit bull that was involved in the commission of a crime, I don't know if that dog is still at Miss Belvin's house, but are you concerned at all about any dangerous animals over at her house?
No, I'm only aware of one animal, and that would be Cleo, which is a dog that I met personally and had the opportunity to meet, and she's a sweetheart. And that's the only animal that I'm aware of that's around my son.
Okay. And I know it's been mentioned some in the past that maybe you might have had some hesitation about him having an autism or some kind of spectrum diagnosis. If you were to have custody, you being the primary caregiver of your son, are you willing to go and, make sure he gets treatment if he has those diagnoses?
Yes, that's why I went to contact the different agencies out here to verify myself. It was something I wanted to do this summer, but I was more focused on just having fun with him, letting him be a kid.
Okay. And I know it's been brought up before. I don't think there's ever been a ruling on it. You're requesting that King's last name be changed to your last name. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned a daughter, and as far as I know, the first time we were here, when we did a calculation of child support, I don't think we counted any other children. So how many other children do you have that are biologically yours aside from King?
I just have her.
Okay. And she currently lives in the house with you?
Yes.
When does she turn 18?
She turns 18 April the 15th.
Okay. Will she graduate from school next year, or when is graduation?
Graduating.
Okay, so she'll turn 18 and then graduate maybe the month or two later?
Yes.
Okay. And Your Honor, I did send this over. It was belated. I've sent a copy of the pay record to both of the attorneys, and I just sent it to the court. And unfortunately, I didn't send it to Miss Belvin, but do you mind if I share my screen?
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, this is a copy of the pay record for Mr. Hatches from the first temporary order that was ordered in 2022 up until today's date. I'd like to offer it into evidence as State's Exhibit 1.
All right. Any objection? Mr. Bramhall.
No, Judge. No, Your Honor.
All right. Sorry. Yeah, I'm missing somebody. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. All right. No, you are there, Ms. Valdez. So sorry. Look, when the screen popped up, it looked like you were gone. Okay, sorry about that. Ms. Valdez, any objection to States 1 coming in evidence?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Batiste Belvin, any objection, ma'am?
No, sir.
All right. Stage 1's admitted. You may proceed.
Thank you. And so, Mr. Hatches, I believe your attorney had touched on this, but would it surprise you to know that you're about, as of today's date, you're $162.83 paid ahead?
That's news to me. But I mean, I did set it up automatic payment, so I'd rather be paid than hear the opposite. Hey, you're behind.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that the court was aware and had the information to back that up. As far as King goes, are you able to cover him on your job's insurance?
The job that I'm currently on, yes.
Okay. How much would it cost you if you were to add him to your insurance?
He's already added to my insurance, and it's just him alone is $542 because we just switched insurance companies. It's still Blue Cross Blue Shield, but it's a different insurance company basis that we have plans.
It's $542 each month?
Yes.
Oof. Is he covered on dental as well?
That's what I'm waiting to clear because we're on a new plan, so I have to get his dental added as well as his it was another one that I have to add. I think it's vision. There you go.
Okay. How much will it cost for the dental insurance once it kicks in? Do you know?
It's supposed to cost me $15 a paycheck or something like that, and vision is like I think about the same.
And how often do you get paid?
I get paid every 2 weeks.
Okay. Now, if that insurance, because that cost is pretty high, if Miss Belvin is not able to help you with the full amount of the insurance, are you still willing to continue covering King, even if, say, it's considered unaffordable for her?
Yes.
Okay. And I know there's been some testimony on this in the past. You're working now. Do you still have any applications in with Social Security for Social Security insurance or supplemental security insurance or Social Security disability?
Not that I know of. It's been almost about to be 2 years since I even applied in that nature.
Okay. And I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. You receive a small veterans disability benefit?
Yes.
How much is that, sir?
I'm at 8. I was at 820 with the latest raise.
Okay. And what's your disability rating?
So at 40%. I'm still waiting on my finishing ratings to come back.
When do you anticipate that happening?
They said 4 to 6 months, and I did the review about was that March? Wait, no, June. I did that in June, July, August, September, 3 months ago.
Okay, so maybe by December or so, you might get an answer regarding that.
Yes.
Okay. If that's it. I pass witness.
All right, I tell you what, everyone, I'm gonna go ahead and let's take a break, and I'll let y'all have anything on redirected as you need, Ms. Alderis, and then we'll take up testimony from Ms. John Batiste Belvin. Anyway, everybody, 15-minute break, and be back on about 20 till 11. Thank you.
Much later.
All right, looks like everyone's back. I'll start the recorder, and we'll start back up. Here we go. All right, this time we're back on the record on Bell County College number 322,486. The court will know for the record all parties are back in the room at this time, and all attorneys are back at this time. And we ended with the state doing their preliminary examination of Mr. Hatches. So at this time, Ms. Valderas, anything on redirect to Mr. Hatches?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bramhall, anything on redirect or recross to Mr. Hatches, sir?
Not at this time, but perhaps at the end.
No. You reserve the right to. Everybody reserves the right after we hear from Ms. John Batiste Belvin. Understood. Not a problem, sir. All right, and Ms. Hubbard.
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Valderas, you can call your next witness, please, if you wish to.
I'd like to call Lashai Jean-Baptiste Belvin, please.
All right, Ms. Belvin, please unmute yourself, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
All right, then. All right, ma'am. Keep yourself unmuted, and you're under oath. You were already sworn in earlier, so you're still under oath this time. And I'll need for you to state your full legal name for the record, ma'am.
My name is Lashai Jean-Baptiste Belvin.
All right, thank you very much. You may proceed at this time. Ms. Belvin, again, listen to the question, answer the question, only answer the question that is asked. Once you think you completed the question, just go ahead and go ahead and stop. And if the attorney needs to continue or ask something in addition to get somewhere else in that questioning, that'll be done. If you didn't hear the question, let's just say I didn't hear it. And if you don't understand the question, please just state I don't understand the question. That way it could be rephrased so it makes it easier to understand. All right, you may proceed at this time, Ms. Valderas. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Ms. Belvin. Do you currently own or rent your residence?
On rent.
And who lives in that home with you?
Hezzy, my daughter, the father of my child, and another occupant renter.
And how old is your daughter?
She is 3 months.
Do you think it's important for your child, you call him Hezzy, I think Mr. Hatches calls him King, but the child we're talking about in this suit today, do you think it's important for him to have a continuous and ongoing relationship with his father?
Yes.
And what have you done to facilitate that relationship between the two of them?
Before child support kicked in, I allowed visitations. I let him see him when it's convenient for the both of us before child support was in play. And then also when child support was in effect, he gets his visitations.
So are you aware of the Texas law that says that you don't have a right to deny any access just based on a person's inability to pay child support?
Correct.
And you're aware that this court made orders requiring you to be at certain locations on certain days at certain times to drop off the child and exchange the child with Mr. Hatches, correct?
Yes.
But you've chosen not to follow this court's order, correct?
Negative.
So the testimony you heard from Mr. Hatches, that it's your contention that that wasn't true, that you were there on those days?
I was on some days. The only time I did not show up was when he said I ambushed him for Christmas to pick up Hezekiah when he had him for Christmas and he's supposed to get him the 1st, 3rd, or the 5th. And I allowed him to stay for New Year's as well.
So
which
you
was the first weekend.
Allowed him to stay, your words, but yet you didn't notify Mr. Hatches that you weren't going to come pick the child up.
No, ma'am, I didn't. Until the last minute.
And what was the purpose of that behavior?
Because Mr. Hatches says I do not allow him to see his child. That will be false if I do allow him.
Okay, but don't you think it would be important for him to know not to drive all the way to the pickup location if you were planning to extend the period of possession?
Well, I assumed that he knew I wasn't showing up when he told me I guess he wasn't going to be there, and I did not respond.
Okay. So he notified you when he was leaving Dallas, though, on that day, correct?
I'm not too sure.
Okay. So if you saw App Plus messages presented by either Mr. Brimhall or myself previously that showed that he let you know when he was leaving Dallas, he testified that he did that on a regular basis each time he was going to do an exchange, you wouldn't have any reason to doubt the veracity of those statements, correct?
Correct.
Is it your goal to limit Mr. Hatch's time with the child?
No.
And it's also true, isn't it, that you've been late to many, many of the custody exchanges for this child, correct?
Yes, due to traffic.
So it's always a problem for you due to traffic, but you don't see it odd that Mr. Hatches comes from Dallas and he doesn't experience the same traffic woes that you experience?
I don't see it odd because if what happens from Dallas and what happens from Waco and getting into Waco are beyond my discretion.
Okay. Have you previously offered to terminate your parental rights to this child and voluntarily relinquish him to Mr. Hatches?
No.
And have you previously made statements that you would place the child up for adoption to avoid Mr. Hatches having any access?
Not that I recall. I did option him to sign his parental rights away if basically being on child support was a problem for him. Because I recall him asking me, do not put him on child support and to take him off child support.
Has it been your intention to make it so difficult for Mr. Hatches that he would hopefully just terminate his rights and go away?
Can you state the question, please?
Sure. Has it been your intention thus far to make it so difficult for Mr. Hatches to exercise his visitation that you hoped he would basically just terminate his rights and go away?
No.
What schedule of visitation do you think is appropriate for Mr. Hatches to have with King?
Once a month, as it states, if so many miles away, that it will be either the first, third, or the fifth, once a month.
Have you read the orders that we've produced in this case? Temporary order, originating in 2022, and then the follow-up orders. Have you read all of those?
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand what's included in all of those orders, what orders this court has made, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you also saw the part that says that it's at Mr. Hatch's election whether he exercises first, third, and fifth weekends, even if he's over 100 miles away, correct?
Correct. And with
so
a 2 weeks notice ahead of events as well.
And it's your contention that that's not appropriate. So what the state of Texas says is appropriate, you do not believe is appropriate visitation for Mr. Hatches, correct?
Negative.
Would a standard possession order with 1 weekend per month be acceptable for you if the court determined that Mr. Hatches should be named sole managing conservator?
Correct.
Have you sought medical care for King on a consistent and appropriate basis during the last couple years?
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Does he still see Dr. Mitchell?
How can I say it? He sees Dr. Mitchell. It's under his practice, but he has a pediatrician under him named Fatima Lira, who actually sees Hezekiah. Gotcha. Under his practice.
Okay. And I know you mentioned in your messages previously that, as you called it, that Hezi is, quote, slow. And you've alluded to autism as being a potential cause for some speech delays. But have you had a diagnosis issued by any of those doctors, either Mitchell or Lira, with regard to the child?
If I could make a correction, I do say his father is slow, as he referred to letting me know that he used to ride the short bus. But yes, he does have a speech delay. and due to his autism, and he is under speech therapy as we speak for his speech. And he also has not been able to go to ABA therapy due to the full capacity of Bell County, where it's overcrowded. So we have been waiting for an opening slot.
Okay. And are you familiar with what the waiting list looks like for ABA therapy for him? Like how soon he'll be getting in?
Some have said 6 months to a year. They explained to me that he may have to potentially go into Austin, but due to my financial circumstances, I will not be able to make it to Austin.
Okay, and so 6 months to 1 year wait time. And when did that start? So when did he get on the list, if you remember that? And I don't need month and year to be fine.
He had a referral to Little Leaf, and they were starting up application process around, I want to say March, April timeframe.
Okay.
And I kept looking for different facilities, and some said they didn't accept his insurance as well. And it's been ongoing for all the way from that time to June. Well, before he got he went to this his father for the summer.
And you're aware that the experts say early intervention is the best course of action in most cases for kids that are either on the spectrum or suffer from autism, correct?
Correct.
And when did you start initiating the process of getting help for this child?
When he was diagnosed in January, they had did a referral for Little Leaf, as I stated, and Little Leaf didn't contact me until March, April timeframe. And that's when I was informed that they were overcrowded. I have reached out to many ABA therapists. I even tried to get him at my brother's job because he's an ABA therapist as well. And I take him to my brother for his services for ABA therapy. And he helps me with them.
How often is he seeing your brother for ABA therapy?
At least once a week. I'll go over there on the weekends, and me and my brother will spend time, and he'll help me with Hezekiah.
Okay. And what is his certification with regard to ABA therapy?
He's an ABA therapist.
Okay.
He's
and what is
certified.
His educational background?
My brother, he is actually an educational background. He is an engineer. And then he received his certification for ABA therapy, and and that's it.
Okay, so he didn't go to school to be a therapist. He's actually an engineer by trade.
He went to school for his IT engineering, and he did receive a degree for that. And then to become an ABA therapist, you do have to go to school and take classes to get certified.
Okay, and which school did he attend for that certification?
I'm not too sure of the school at all, but I know he completed it because he has the ABA therapist job.
Okay, so he offers those services to the general public as well as to your child, correct?
Correct.
And who has he see for speech therapy?
He goes to Integrity Rehab, and he sees Miss Kim, and she works with him. It's fine. She works with him once a month. He didn't have therapy recently because he was gone for the summer, but he has his next appointment on Thursday. But she says that he doesn't really need speech therapy, so she required him only for once a month instead of frequently as often.
Okay, and so in kind of knowing that Mr. Hatches was going to have him for the summer, did you give him the information for Miss Kim so that he would be able to get him to that very important appointment?
No, ma'am. I did not, because I recall signing a document to allow him access to all his medical records, his doctors, and anything that he needed. So I assumed that he could have got it for himself.
Okay, but ultimately your child's improvement in this regard is at issue. And so just to clarify, you didn't think it was worthwhile to, be inconvenienced essentially enough to shoot him a message on the app to let him know that he needed to attend that appointment?
No, because I already spoke to Miss Kim that he was going with his father for the summer. So she didn't need to create an appointment for him if she already knew he was going to Dallas for the summer.
Okay. So really, even though he has access to the medical record, there wouldn't have been anything to find because you didn't have an appointment scheduled for the period that he was in Dallas.
Correct.
What other intervention have you implemented to help King with his autism?
Honestly, I work with Hezekiah on my own because even though he may have a delay, I potty trained Hezekiah and I work with him on his own social and physical needs. And he's able to do things efficiently on his own. So with that, as I requested and asked Mr. Hatches to help me with his potty training, he refused to. So, and I had to do that by myself. And as far as his development, he can tell you when he's hungry, tell you when he's thirsty. He'll feed himself if he finds something that he wants to eat and he can get a hold to. He's more self-sufficient than I expected for somebody to be autistic on his spectrum.
Okay. In what ways has it benefited King for you to deny his father access to him?
I haven't denied any access to his father for him.
Okay. So the testimony about that you heard about multiple times that you've refused to give Mr. Hatches the child, that was not true in your contention?
It is not true because in the fact of the matter is I'm supposed to have a 2 weeks notice to allow him to have him. I was never given a 2 weeks notice. So whenever he just decided to show up and say, hey, I want my kid and demanded him without a 2 weeks notice, I'm not showing up.
Okay.
Because I may have other things planned before that.
And you're aware that the 2 weeks notice has not always been the rule in this case, correct? That's not a standard for Texas law or anything like that.
It wasn't for Texas law, but I do recall the judge making that order in there as far as requiring a 2 weeks notice within a temporary order.
Okay. And in what ways does it benefit King for you to perpetually be late or refuse to meet Mr. Hatches at the agreed location for the exchanges?
There's been times I've been late due to traffic, and also because there's been things that Mr. Hatches has requested at the last minute that I had to handle to keep the peace. So he will ask, can he get a haircut? And even sometimes he may not know that I may be growing his hair out and I may not want to have it cut. And he'll do it just for wanting and just to upset me, but I allow it. And we have been late due to his hair appointment. So there is things that's beyond my control.
Okay, so your new assertion is that you've been late because of travel, but also because of haircuts, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And it's also stated in the app post when he recently last picked him up for the summer to get him a haircut. And I was upset, but I did do it. And I had set up an appointment for him to get his haircut. And it ended up having to be the day he had to get picked up. And that haircut took a long time.
Okay, so how much notice did you have the child would be leaving for the summer?
I had noticed when we had the last court hearing when he had to get him for the summer. But at the last minute, Mr. Hatches informed me that same week to have his haircut because I believe he was going to a family reunion. And the thing about it was the family reunion was a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm not too sure, prior to the actual time frame that he had to be there and that it was court ordered. And I did allow my son to go to that family reunion. Now, the issue was behind it. He wanted to bring him back, take him back, bring him back. And I couldn't because I was close to my labor time.
Okay. And did he offer to take the child either early or for extra time so that you would have one less worry during that very stressful time when you're about to give birth to your child?
I had to beg him to do that. We had been discussing for a little brief moment about that. And I had to ask him to take him early while he had him for that family reunion, but he wanted to bring him back. And I had asked him to keep him because I knew I was going into labor very soon before that. So I asked him to keep him from that time all the way until the end of the visitation, which was court ordered. And we did have a little disagreement back and forth behind that.
Do you recall what day that was that you guys had the disagreement about that summer period and picking him up?
Let me pull it up off an app close, ma'am. I'm trying to find the very beginning where we had this issue.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate that. I'm also looking. So if I find it, I'll let you know too.
Okay. He said, I'm picking up King June 7th at 3 p.m. for the family reunion and bringing him back June 9th at 6 p.m. And I said, and I replied, and what about the 42 days of the summer for summer break? He said, this is Mr. Hatches, I'm going to give him the 22nd too. And then I stated, well, I don't know if I can make it that weekend to meet halfway unless you pick him up because I can be delivering around that time. And then he stated, I'm sure you can ask for your aunt to drop King off and pick him up unless you want me to just keep him from that point so you can handle your business. That is no problem on my end. And I said, well, let me talk to her first, but all I can say is that we have to play it by ear and I will update you on these details. He
Okay,
said
so
that
let me
will
stop
work.
you right there because he offered to keep the child. And that didn't happen, right?
Say that again?
He offered to keep the child in what you just read, correct?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. He said, I'm picking him up June 7th, in which the 22nd was the obligated time frame for him to go. And
Right.
he said he will bring him back.
So that you would have that.
Wait, ma'am. He said, I'm picking him up June 7th at 3 p.m. for the family reunion, and I'm bringing him back June 9th at 6 p.m. And I asked him, what about the 42 days of summer? And then he said he would get him on the 22nd as well. That's twice within the month. And so I then asked him, I told him I will not be sure if I can meet him halfway around that time because I will be giving delivery around that time. And then that's when he said, ask your aunt if she could drop him off.
And was your aunt able to drop him off?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So it was your expectation that he would just come all the way to Colleen to do the exchange, even though he was offering to keep him during that stressful time for you.
He didn't offer. I had to ask him to do that.
Okay. But you, in any event, you didn't facilitate that extra time that he requested.
I'm lost. Say that again.
Okay, you didn't do anything to facilitate him having that time frame. It would have made things easier for you. It would have been good time for him to have extra time with his kiddo, but you didn't do anything to facilitate that. You didn't send anybody to meet him to drop the kid off, right?
I sure didn't because I asked her and she told me no. And I'm not going to sit there and force somebody to do something on my behalf without their right. And she told me she will not do that. And then on top of that, I let him know she couldn't do it. And as well, And then as
All right, wait a second.
well
Sorry,
as
ma'am.
him,
You seem to be cracking up a little bit. Are you moving around, or is that me?
no, sir, I'm not moving around.
Okay, I think it's me. Just hold on a second. Let me double check some stuff. Yeah, stop for a moment. Yeah, I got that unstable internet thing popping up. Let me double check something real quick. Bandwidth's down a little bit, but I still have plenty. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. You may proceed, Ms. Valderas. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. I know that you testified at our previous temporary hearing about your contention and your feeling about this child's father, but is it still your contention today that this child's father is, quote, your enemy, Ms. Belvin?
Yes, ma'am, because if you're not for me, then you're against me. And there's been plenty of times where he may not directly say it, but he allowed other people to say things in regards to putting me and my child next to my mother in her grave. So we will not be seeing eye to eye. And if we cannot co-parent and be on the same page for Hezekiah, it will be a little bit different.
Do you feel like you do a good job co-parenting with Mr. Hatches?
Honestly, no, ma'am. I do not, because of the simple fact there's no compromise. If I'm trying to compromise and he does not want to compromise, it's going to be hard. Like, for instance, when you asked about the summer visitation, I compromised with him to let him pick him up from Colleen because I was actually in active labor and didn't know at the time when I dropped Hezekiah off. My water was breaking at the time and I could not drive all the way to Dallas. And I asked him to pick him up from Colleen and I will come to Dallas to pick him up from the end of the summer.
Did you offer to meet him in West, ma'am, at the exchange location?
I could not, and I let him know I couldn't because I was close to active labor. And I didn't know I was going in active labor. So I could not meet him in West because I did not want to be driving and be in labor. And so I asked him to pick him up from Colleen, and he did. And just like I had offered to pick him up from Dallas to be on the fair spectrum. And that's what happened.
Okay. And so during the pendency of this case, also, you've been convicted of a felony ag assault, correct?
Correct.
And the court has held a sentencing in that case as well, correct?
Correct.
And are you aware of any jury instructions, any instructions that came from the jury about what they believed the punishment should be for that offense?
Yes, the jury has stated I should be on probation for 2 to 3 years, and the judge overrided it and gave me 5.
Okay.
And suspended the sentence with 2 years of imprisonment.
Okay, so you're going to be on probation for the next 5 years, presumably, unless something else occurs, unless you petition for early release or something like that. But as of right now, 5 years of probation.
Correct. And then on top of that, I'm waiting for the appeal.
And is drug testing a part of the conditions of your probation?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you been drug tested thus far on probation?
Correct.
You have? And what was the result of that?
Negative.
Okay. All right. And you do recall in this case that you had a positive drug test during this case, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you're not still using any kind of illegal substances?
No, ma'am.
All right. I'll pass the witness.
Judge, the drug test order is from 6/21 of 22. I'd like the court to take judicial notice of that. And then the result, I believe, was previously admitted in a prior hearing way back in 22. But I think it's been listed as Father's Exhibit number 8.
All I know it's already in evidence. I'm not sure what the original packet was as far as that's concerned, but it was already introduced in evidence, sir. Thank you.
Okay, all right. And it shows that she was tested back on October of 22. Miss Belvin, that's correct, right? You were tested on October the 19th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And it was a hair follicle test that was court ordered, correct?
Yes.
And you tested positive for two things, cannabinoids and carboxy THC, correct?
That's one thing, but correct.
They're listed separately. So that's the and at the time of this test, you were on bond awaiting your felony trial. Is that right?
Correct. And as well as there was terms of my conditions to not, it was terms and conditions of my bond, as y'all stated earlier, to not be on drugs, but the judge was aware of it as well. Because I had failed drug tests out on my bond and I was still out.
So are you saying there were hearings in front of Judge Gant regarding your drug use while on bond?
No, he receives my results, sir, and I did fail a couple times, and he did receive them, and he knew when I was still out.
But your bond was never revoked, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did the prosecutors ask for your bond to be revoked?
No, sir.
All right. Judge, I'll put it on the screen first. All right. So the first one, Judge, is a judgment of conviction that was signed by Judge Gant regarding Miss Belvin's felony case from August of this year. It was sent to me by the district clerk's office. So I'll offer it into evidence.
All right. Continue to scroll down, please.
Yeah, it totals 5 pages. Her sentence was 2 years, 5 years probation. And there are terms and conditions, obviously, including fines, and that she not own or possess or use a weapon or ammunition as well, in addition to not using any illegal substance as well. And then it is signed by her.
All right. All right. Any objections coming in of evidence at this time, Ms. Hubbard?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Sorry, I keep losing for them. Okay. All right. Are you there, Ms. Valderas?
I'm here. No objection, Judge.
All right, then. I figured you were. It's just hiding on my computer. All right, Ms. Matisse Belvin, is there any legal reason this should not come in evidence, ma'am?
No, yes, sir, it shouldn't be.
All right, what's your reason? What's the reason, ma'am? It's an official document in a Bell County court file. It's pretty much automatic, ma'am. So what's your reason that this should not be out?
That's fine. I understand.
Okay.
The only reason why I was just going to say was because this happened way before I had Hezekiah, and I'm just upset that they're trying to use it to define my parenting.
I'm sorry, but the conviction was I'm sorry. When was the date of conviction, Mr. Bramall?
The date of conviction was August the 8th of this year. It took a while to get to trial, Judge.
Yeah, I know. No, this has been COVID. I know what happened, but ma'am, yeah, the conviction's recent. You know, the episode may be old, but the conviction is recent. Correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. All right. This is ad items 1. It is admitted. You may proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Belvin, are you aware that the Killeen Daily Herald reported on your case earlier this year? In at least 2 news articles?
Honestly, I knew of one, but not the other one. And I found it funny because what the newspaper had.
Hold on. Can you see these 2 things? I have 2 different, there's 2 articles. The heading of one is jury finds woman guilty of pit bull attack and gun threat, sentenced to probation. The second one is entitled Colleen Woman on Why She Pulled Gun. He told me he was going to kill my dog. Those are the two articles and the headings of the two articles. These two articles have been provided to you, correct?
Through you, yes. And I'm grateful you did send those articles because it helps me with my appeal. Thank you, Mr. Brimhall.
You're welcome. I'll offer both of these articles from the news about your case into evidence.
No, I don't see the relevance of offering these into evidence. You know, I got the conviction. That's what's relevant for the court. I got no proof that that this should come in beyond the hearsay based on what. I'm sorry. I'll back it up. What's your hearsay? Your exception to hearsay? Why this should be admitted, Mr. Brimhall?
They contain information about the court proceedings that occurred, and I feel like it's important to note that all of the victims testified. It doesn't say what they testified about, other than that they controverted her testimony, and they testified that they were injured by her, either as a result of a gun being waved at them, or in the case of the one individual, a pit bull was sicked on him. I just want that information. I don't know.
Good enough then. I'll go ahead and ask, are there any objections? And I'll have you mark these as ad items 2 and 3, please, and reduce those to PDFs also, and as well as ad item number 1. And I'll start with you again, Ms. Hubbard. Any objection to ad items 2 or 3?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then, Ms. Valderas, any objection, ma'am?
No objection to either, Judge. Thank you.
All right, then. Now, Ms. Belvin, any objection or any legal reason why these should not come into evidence at this time, ma'am?
No, sir, like you stated earlier.
All right, so 2 and 3 are admitted. You may proceed, Mr. Brimhall. And again, sir, please reduce those to a PDF and have them forwarded with the ad items 1, 2, and 3 on them. Thank you. And
Yes, Judge.
I'll put in the docket sheet that they are admitted. All right.
Okay, I did email them to Belinda, but without a stamp. Do you want me to stamp them and resend them?
If you already sent them, I'll just have her put them out and I'll stamp them. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Belvin, regarding these reports, your trial occurred earlier this year in May for about 3 or 4 days. Is that right?
Correct.
Was it 3 days of testimony and 1 day of deliberation? Is that correct?
No, sir. It was 1 day of jury selection, 2 days of testimony, and the verdict.
But the verdict was on a separate day. Is that right or no?
No, sir. It was all on the same day.
Okay. All right. And the jury only took 1 day to get to their verdict. Is that right?
No, they only took a couple hours. They took an hour. No, they took an hour, and then they took 5 minutes.
Sorry, my question was confusing. They all of the deliberations took place on a singular day, correct?
Correct.
All right. And they heard from a couple of witnesses, right? They heard from you. You chose to testify, is that right?
Correct.
And they also heard from the other 3 individuals that were the victims, is that right?
Yes, sir. Or of allegedly victims. But yes, sir.
And the article talks about the event in question. You had showed up to your stepfather's house and they were there. Is that right?
Actually, that's the key piece of evidence. It wasn't my stepfather's house. It was my house as well.
Were you on the deed to the property?
No, I am actually the heir to the property because my mother died without a will. And me and my brother and my stepfather all own that property.
Okay. So is the house in your stepfather's name or do you not know?
The house actually is in him and my mother's name.
Okay.
She was on the deed.
All right. Have there been any probate actions regarding the house or that property?
No, that's why I got arrested, because there was no probate action taken. But we all signed for the house to be sold. My stepfather, my brother, and
now, at the time of this incident, did you have 2 pit bulls?
I did.
Do you still have 2 pit bulls?
No, sir, I only have one.
What happened? Is it the same? Is that one the same as one of these two?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that the one that Mr. Hatches talked about?
Correct.
What happened to the other one?
The other one, I was incarcerated at the time in jail, and my brother was watching, taking care of my dogs, and apparently my dogs were outside in a kennel, and my dog escaped, and he came in the house because there was a doggy door in the house, and he came in, and two males came be in the same house, and him and the little dog got into it. And my brother's wife at the time was upset that my dog and her dog got into it. My dog had the best of them, and she put him in the I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. To the dog pound, and they euthanized him.
Okay. So when did this occur?
This occurred while I was in jail
Do
at the time.
do you recall what month and year?
It was in 2018, I know for sure, and maybe around June, July timeframe.
Okay. Which of the two pit bulls attacked the individual?
Grandma, what's the relevance, sir?
I think it's just important to show that she was involved in this and directly sicked the dog on an individual.
Oh,
Sir,
sir.
Stop. He's been convicted of that, sir. Move on.
Okay.
Yeah, jury has found her guilty, and Judge Gann has she's got the right to appeal, but right now she's a convicted felon until it's overturned by appeal. You can move on, sir.
Okay. All right. Has your dog, the one that's still with you, has it attacked any other individuals since 2018?
No, sir. And I like to. No, sir, it has not. She's the
That was a yes or
thing.
that was a yes or no question, Judge.
All right, she answered no. Good enough, ma'am. Thank you.
All right.
See you, Mr. Primo.
When did you first check in with probation after August the 8th of this year?
I registered that same day in August for my probation in Belton, and then it was transferred to Killeen because that's where I reside. And I had multiple check-in dates, and I think my very first one was the beginning of this month, and my second one was this week on Tuesday, and I had checked in.
Okay, so you've checked in 3 times, and you were supposed to check in 3 times?
You have to have an initial how can I say it? I would say an intake, but that's not the proper term for it. And
Okay.
then they'll go from there with your actual check-in.
So have you done any, you had said you had done some drug testing since August, is that correct?
Correct.
How many times?
Just one.
And what kind of drug test was it?
A 12 panel, and I passed everything.
Was it a UA or a hair follicle?
UA.
Okay. And do you recall what day it was?
I want to say the 23rd.
Like just 4 days ago? Is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Are you aware of all of your bond conditions?
Bond or probation conditions?
Probation conditions.
Correct.
So, do you own any weapon or ammunition, firearm or ammunition?
No, sir.
Is there one in your house at all?
No.
Okay. And you had said earlier that there's someone renting in your house. Who is that individual?
Oh, Lord. Do I have to go there?
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
What's his or her name?
Her name's Portia.
And who? And how do you know her?
She's the father of my child's wife.
Say that again? She's the father of your child's...
Of my child's wife. I became a sister wife, Mr. Bramhall.
Okay. So, all right. So there's one man and two women living in the same house?
Yes.
Okay. And the person, so you just had a child, and the father of that child is someone else's husband? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so is he legally married to you or to the other woman?
We're not married at all, but he's legally married to the other woman.
Okay. And that other woman is this Portia lady?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so is this lady, Portia, is she involved in taking care of King?
No, not really.
What kind of house is it? Is it a duplex?
It's a house. It's a 3-bedroom house.
Okay. And so who's in what bedroom? Who's in the master bedroom?
I am.
And who else?
I'm in the master bedroom. The father of my child is sometimes in the master bedroom, and Hezzy has his own room. Well, me, him, and my daughter are in the master bedroom. Hezzy has his own room, and the wife is in another room.
Okay. So King Hezzy has his own bedroom? There's no other child?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any other children that sometimes stay at the residence?
No.
Does the father of your child have any other children?
Yes, and they're not here. They're in another country.
Okay, but they don't come here to visit?
No.
All right, ma'am, real quick, what's the name of the father of the child, or your current child?
Francis.
What's his last name, please?
Atia.
All right, is he an American citizen, or is he
yes,
here?
Sir. He's an American citizen.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Bramhall.
Okay. So other than, so it's the 3 adults and your 2 children and nobody else. Is that your testimony?
Correct.
All right. Regarding the app close messages, there's numerous messages where you use fairly profane language. Is that true or not true?
That is true until the judge had put an ad lib, and then there has not.
So you recall our temporary hearing from a year or more ago? Correct?
Correct.
All right. And so most of the inflammatory language is before that, but there is still quite a bit after that. Correct?
There is after he asked me for my true opinion from when he got shot. And he asked me, and I sure gave it.
Did you basically say he deserved his injuries?
Yes, because he has been in illegal activity. He was riding in a bike club, and the bike club has been targeting him for quite some time, hence to why he is now in Dallas. Because before child support was put in place, he used to stay in Killeen and then in Temple.
I'm going to object to all that latter half being irrelevant. It's all speculative as well.
All right, okay. Well, slow down, ma'am. Slow down. Okay. Here's the deal, ma'am. Just listen to the question, and you went way beyond the questioning on this one. So, Mr. Bramhall, be more precise, and let's speed this up, sir, because it's closing in on the lunch hour. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Regarding, so in these messages, you use the N-word at least 4 times that I can count. It may be more, but is that a word you use frequently?
No.
Do you use it about when you're talking about Mr. Hatches frequently?
Yes.
When you're talking to other people, do you use it?
No.
Just when you're talking about Mr. Hatches?
Well, I'll take that back. Not only to Mr. Hatches, but with other people who are relative, because we do say it back to each other. It's different versions that we'll say in the N-word.
Let me ask you this. I asked Mr. Hatches this, and I'll ask you the same question. I mean, do you think that's an appropriate word to use?
You don't even know what the fuck you go through in life. If you want to sit down and have a small little family, you need to get you a little small, little fucking chick.
Do you hear me?
Okay, whose background is that coming out of?
Whose background is it?
Mr. Hatches.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, go on. And my question was, do you feel like that's an appropriate word to use?
In which term is being used?
But what? What was your response?
In which term is being used? If the N-word with the A at the end versus the discolor of Negro is two different versions that I do use. And which term is being used?
Okay. Do you think either are appropriate in 2024?
Oh, in 2024.
In our current day and age, that's appropriate to call somebody those words? Yes or
Depending
no?
how.
Just yes or
Yes.
no?
Yes.
Okay. You also, I mean, in these messages, you insult his intelligence, you insult his attorney, you insinuate he's sleeping with his attorney on multiple occasions. You say very derogatory things about her as well. Are all of these things you would take back, or do you stand by them?
I stand by them because in the end, I know Mr. Hatches, he does sleep around. I know his attorney was emailing me.
Do you feel like...
Can I finish, Mr. Brimhall?
It's not relevant.
No,
Whatever she's saying is not relevant.
Stop.
Okay.
All right. So, Brim, I'll end this line of questioning and let's move on, sir. Thank you.
All right. Do you have any intention to harm Mr. Hatches?
No. I let him do it for himself.
Okay. But you have told him he can go die, and you have threatened him on numerous occasions?
Correct? I haven't threatened him, but yes, he can. If he wants to put himself there, he can. It won't hurt. Not me. It may hurt his child, but those are decisions in his lifestyle. There's nothing I can do about that.
Do you recall sending a message on September 17th of 2022 where you tell him, quote, I truly hope you have a nice life insurance policy with Hezekiah being a beneficiary?
Yes, I did.
He can't type it until he's 20. Type shit because your ass is grass. Did you say that?
Yes, I did.
So do you understand that sounds like a threat to most neutral observers?
Well, if you think it's a threat, that's on you. But because
were you intending when you
Miss Bremel, let her answer. Stop. Let her answer. Make it fast, ma'am. Go ahead and answer the question.
Yes, sir. Yes. If it seemed like a threat, you could take it, but it wasn't because of his lifestyle that he occurred, that he put me, his son, and himself in danger.
Okay, so were you intending to threaten him by saying your ass is grass?
No, I did not.
What were you intending when you sent that?
Well, when I have been informed that people were looking for him and that they wanted to hurt him, that was basically you in trouble. You're in trouble. Whatever he caused, whatever he did, they're looking for him.
Okay. All these messages here with colorful language, do you think they're helpful messages to send?
I do, because he has to understand that.
That was a yes or no question. So you said I do. My next question is, if he sent you the same kind of messages, how would you respond?
Mr. Hatches is not bold enough to send them to me, but he'll have other people send them to me.
What I asked you.
Okay, here we go. We're going to stop. Grandma, you got 1 minute to wrap this up, sir.
Okay.
I'm gonna give the state more opportunity. You got 1 minute, sir. Wrap it up.
All right. Regarding, you had testified earlier about traffic. You understand Dallas has 9 times more people than Waco.
Grandma, let's move on. Let's move on. That's not relevant. That's not relevant. It's I-35. It could be 4 hours in one spot and 30 minutes in another. Let's not go down that path. I went to school north of Dallas. I've been on that highway my entire life, so it is what it is.
I know. I'm just trying to.
Waco no longer has the problem with the construction. It's just everybody's pretty much equal, and it may or may not take you some 1 hour. So let's not even talk about traffic. It's just not relevant. Move on.
Okay. All right. Now I'm just trying to draw a contrast between the two. So.
Yeah, I know, but I've come out of Dallas. I've come out of Killing. And ma'am, you're in
Say that again. I'm sorry. My baby is cooling. I couldn't hear you. Say that again.
Are you in Killeen? You live in Killeen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Bremont.
Okay. Regarding the exchanges that were testified to, do you feel like you've been difficult in making sure those get done at all? Do you take any responsibility for how those have happened?
For him to visit?
For the whole exchange, meeting at the location, being there on time, making him wait, etc.
I don't choose to make him wait, Mr. Brimhall. And I do take part in that because that I am driving, and I'll take account for my tardiness, but it's not in my control.
Okay, so when he tells you he's leaving Dallas, do you leave Killeen right away?
Yes, sir, I do. And if there's traffic backed up in Temple, and then I hit traffic again in Waco, and there could be an accident that I'm waiting on, or there's construction, there's nothing I can do. Right. Unless I take another route and go around it, then that's going to take me longer.
Have you ever texted him that you were waiting in traffic?
I have before. And then as the judge stated, I need to not do that. Get over and stop and text him. Because I shouldn't be taking driving.
That's what I'm asking you. Did you pull over and send any message from him in traffic?
I have.
Can you point to it in the Applos record? I think she's making
no longer your witness, Mr. Brimall. No longer your witness, sir. Mr. Witness. It's a quarter till, Mr. Brimall. I'm sorry. We've been over this. We've been over this already. Under direct exam, now I've heard enough of this stuff, okay? I'm not doing anything new. So it's no longer your witness. I'm stopping you at this point. Ms. Hubbard, your witness. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Belvin, how many dogs do you have in the house right now?
Just one.
And do you keep any other dogs that are not in the house, like say in an outdoor kennel?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And obviously, congratulations, you have a new baby. Do you have any other children other than your new baby and King?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Are you planning on going back to work anytime soon?
I do cosmetology. I need to finish my certification, so hopefully I can go to work in a salon setting if possible, or just work for myself.
Okay. Do you do any cosmetology right now, like doing like hair braids or anything at your home?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How often do you usually braid hair?
Not often, maybe two or three times a month.
Okay. And do you charge for those settings?
A couple of them I have, and then the other one, no, because we kind of do it as a mutual exchange for babysitting my child. So
okay. I guess what's your normal cost if you do charge?
I'm sorry, but it depends on the hair, braids, and the style. so it varies. So if it's like regular cornrows with your hair, $40 to $50, depending if it's male or female. And then braids with adding hair will go to $60 to $80. And crochets are $40, box braids are $80.
Okay. How long have you been doing braiding, off and on for the months?
I finished and completed school in, what I say, April, May, I completed school before I gave birth. And then I stopped after I gave birth. And then I just recently started picking it back up.
Okay. So are you saying, I guess just clarify for me, you went to college, cosmetology school, and you did graduate? You finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Wait, was that this year?
Yes, ma'am.
You said May of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you still need to finish a certification?
Correct.
Okay. And after that certification, you can work in a salon. Is that the goal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you don't currently possess like a cosmetology or barber's license, correct?
No, ma'am. Correct.
Okay. Is there anything else you're doing on the side for money right now?
No.
Okay. As far as your child, I'm going to call him King just because that's how it's listed in our system, so apologize. How does King have insurance right now?
He's under Medicaid.
Okay.
Superior.
All right. And Your Honor, I did forget to ask Mr. Hatches this, so I may need to recall him. But Ms. Belvin, in the past, there's been a flag on this case that says that there could be some issues if your address or phone number were to be included in this order. Are you asking the court today to keep your address or phone number withheld?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Does Mr. Hatches know where you live?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Are you concerned if Mr. Hatches knows where you live that there may be some type of harassment, harm, or abuse that would occur?
Yes, ma'am.
Has there been any harassment, harm, or abuse when he's known where you lived in the past?
Yes, ma'am. He has sent other people to harass me. He gave my number out. Multiple issues. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the last occurrence of any of those things?
He had, I want to say, before child support had started and in the middle of the case as well. It was I can't remember the actual date, but he gave one of his relatives my phone number. She texted me, threatened me to come to Dallas, let me fight her, this, that, and the third, and etc. And I did not go. And ironically, I told Mr. Hatches, because of what he has done and gave my number out, somebody's going to reap some consequences. And I felt that on a spiritual aspect. And later on, I think the person who texted me, father had died. And I had nothing to do with it. Another time was he had a female that he used to sleep with text me when I filed child support, saying that she was going to put.
I'm going to object to hearsay or whatever this person says and the relevance to the question that was asked.
Sustained. Let's move on, Ms. Cover. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. In the past 3 months, have there been any threats or any stalking incidences from either third parties or Mr. Hatches?
Not that I know of.
Okay. And do you and Mr. Hatches ever speak outside of AppClose?
No, ma'am.
Okay. As far as pickup and drop off, have there ever been any incidences that occur when you're there, like words exchanged or threats made?
No, ma'am. The only thing is when you talk about our son, how he's grown, how much he's grown, if things like that. About our son most of the time, and my son be like, "I'm ready to go. Let's go."
Okay. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, then, ma'am. What are you looking at going back or trying to get that certification that you spoke of?
I have to schedule a test date, and in Austin they're basically overcrowded. So hopefully, I want to at least get it done no later than March of next year.
Okay. How often do they do those test dates, ma'am?
I'm not too sure. I don't want to lie about it. I'm not too sure, but I know that they were backed up in Austin. So if I had to take a quick one, I would have to go out of the from Austin. I would probably have to go to Houston or Dallas or those type of areas.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much. Anything on recross this time, Ms. Valderas?
I think just one question, if I may.
Yes, you may.
Ms. Belvin, you mentioned that Portia pays rent. Can you tell us how much she pays per month?
Is that relevant? Because I'm not the homeowner.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's relevant. Sorry, it is. Sorry. If you make an objection, well, it's relevant. Yes, it's relevant to know what monies you do have coming in one way or the other, ma'am.
Well, that's wait. I don't know, Your Honor.
Financially, so it is relevant. So
no, I'm not too sure because that's really not an agreement between me and her. That's between her and her husband. That's why when you ask me, I just can't really tell you because I don't know what agreement they have.
Okay, so her husband owns the house that you live in?
Yes.
And how much rent do you pay?
$300.
And are you certain that he charges her rent, or you just referred to her as a renter just as a colloquialism?
I'm just going to be honest. I'm just saying that as probably colloquialism because I don't know what their agreement is.
Nothing further.
Supremo, real fast. Questions, sir.
If you were going to give yourself a grade on how you've acted throughout the course of this litigation,
no, I'm not going to allow that one. I'm not going to allow that one.
I mean,
the court's only interested in facts, not speculation from a non-expert witness.
Well, she can give herself a grade. I'm not. I mean,
I'm not allowing that question, sir. Next question, please.
Okay. Is there anything you would change about how you've acted in this litigation?
Okay, you repeat that question, sir. I didn't understand it myself.
Ms. Belvin, is there anything that you would do differently or change about how you've acted and behaved during the course of this litigation?
Do you hear the question, ma'am?
Yes, I do. Honestly, no.
All right, I'll pass the witness.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Everett?
No, Your Honor. No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Valderas, do you have other witnesses that you need to recall Mr. Hatches? What are we looking at here, ma'am?
If I may recall him, I have 3 questions for him.
All right, then. Mr. Hatches, you're back on the record, and you may ask your questions, Ms. Valderas. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Hatches, have you refused to assist Ms. Belvin in potty training?
I have not. I have photos, videos, and pictures.
Of you supporting the potty training endeavor, correct?
Yes.
Okay. During the period right before your summer possession, when you were hoping to attend the family reunion, did you ask to keep King so that you could spend more time with him, but also to alleviate some of that stress on Ms. Belvin with her pending birth of her new child?
Yes.
And have you ever sent anyone to harass Ms. Belvin or given out her number for the purpose of harassment?
No, I have not. Not one time.
Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, Mr. Brimhall.
My question, do you recall any communication from Miss Belvin about her having difficulty in traffic or being in traffic?
Times, yes.
And like that was on the way?
That was usually on the way. I get a message, or by the time I get to location for pickup, she'll say she's in traffic. Where as a person that is not working versus a person that is working, if I can do it and leave early,
Okay,
you don't have a job.
So here's the deal. Here's the deal. That's not, you're going past the question. The question was about whether or not she's giving you any information that she's running late or running behind, that sort of thing. And on top of that question, sir, I would add on how many separate occasions do you recall her doing such? Thank you.
At most, I could say maybe 5 or 6 times notified that she was in traffic.
Yeah.
Judge, in the app close messages, there's 3 times from her.
Okay. Like I said, that's in the record. So if I choose to read the whole thing, I will. But for right now, I don't think it's 75 pages, right?
Well, Judge, only about 50 of it are messages. The back are all the photos that they texted to each other.
All right, good enough.
But I would encourage the court to read. I mean, unless the court wants to view they're mostly pictures of the child in question, which are all fine. All right. There is one kind of gruesome picture, like was talked about.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, because that's been testified to. But right now, he's still your witness, Mr. Brimhall. Questions?
Okay, Mr. Hatches, do you feel like you have in your statements and the messages to the other party, do you feel like you have been? Well, how do you feel like your messages have been received, or how do you? I guess I'm not asking a very good question.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot. That question sounds like you asking some speculation on his part, or these parts are not expert witnesses, so they can't. Like that. Thank you.
Regarding your messages, do you think you've done a good job sending messages back and forth about your child?
Yes.
Okay, and do you feel like you've been patient with some of the things that you've received from her?
I have been.
Okay. And for all the time she's name called you and said this, that, and the other, have you done the same for her? Have you used the N word or called her a B or anything like that?
No, I have not.
Okay. When the child's with you, do you say anything negative about her to the child?
No, I did not.
All right. I did have a question on the insurance. You said it was about 500 and some odd a month. Is that
543?
Is that per paycheck or per month?
No, that's a month. That's per month.
Are you paid once per month or twice per month?
I'm paid twice a month. That's just the overall total for the month.
Okay, so that's the amount times 2 or whatever for 2 paychecks?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And it covers, who does it cover? It covers you and who else?
That covers me. That covers him and me. And then I still got to add my daughter to it.
So for right now, that insurance just covers King and you?
Yes.
All right. When you add your daughter, do you expect the cost to go up, or is it a situation where it doesn't matter how many children you have, the cost is the same?
It's not going to be dependent until she's once she turns 18, so it's not going to really make a big difference. Maybe $20 more than anything.
Okay, all right. And I don't recall. Did you say you have dental insurance as well?
That's the one I'm waiting for the approval for the dental, and I know we have vision. I just haven't signed up for it.
Okay, all right. That's all. That's all I had about the finances.
Thank you, Ms. Hubbard.
Mr. Hatches, as far as your address and phone number being included in this order, do you have reason to believe that if it is included, that either Ms. Belvin or someone else, a third party not in this case, will harass you, harm you, or come by and try to hurt you?
I'm not worried about it at all.
Okay.
I don't have anything to hide.
Okay, so it is okay if we include your address and Ms. Belvin has your contact info?
Yes.
Pass witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Valderas, anything else?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Brimhall?
Nothing for Mr. Hatches. I do have a few questions about Miss Belvin's finances that I didn't get a chance to ask.
Well, Mr. Brimhall, she's not working. She's not licensed yet, and she's doing side work, and it's not her house. What's your questions?
My question is, when was the last time she had employment, and what type of job was it?
Okay. All right. I'll let you ask some quick employment questions, but I really need to get y'all ready to start your closing statements and closing arguments, and that includes Ms. Belvin. So anyway, Ms. Belvin's the witness again. Ask your question. Ms. Belvin, you still there? Okay.
Okay, so my question, Ms. Belvin, is when was the last time you had regular employment?
Back in 2018, before my mom was taken out, I worked at Teleperformance I started in October, and it ended after she had passed away, which was October 2017 to March of 2018.
And are you saying you haven't worked a steady or regular job since then?
No, sir, because I had ended up picking those charges later on in May. And when I tried to work for favors, and that's when I found out I had charges pending.
Okay. Have you worked like under the table or for cash during that time period?
No, sir.
Have you been
Only for if I'm braiding hair.
Okay.
Other than that. And I was getting tips from the school, which is allowed.
Were you okay?
How long were you in school, ma'am?
I was in school from this is 2024. I started in June. I started in June of 2023, and I finished in May of 2024. It goes for 9 months.
All right. Thank you.
And okay. And have you already attempted to take the cosmetology license exam or whatever is needed to get them?
No, sir, because I took a break for my child until I can get her situated to go into daycare or somebody to watch her as I go take the test.
So when do you anticipate taking it? Within the next year, or later?
Yes, sir. Within the next year.
She's hoping to do it before March of next year, so 6 months.
Okay. All right. Have you already? Okay. Never mind. I'll pass.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Hubbard?
Yes, Your Honor. One question. Ms. Belvin, Mr. Hatches has requested that his last name be included in King Hezekiah's name. Do you have a preference? Do you want it just Hatches? Do you want it just Hatches, or do you want hyphenated with one of your last names?
I want it hyphenated.
How would you like the child's name to be?
Belvin Hatches or Stewart, whatever name he wants to use.
It'll be Stewart.
Okay. And
said Stewart, like Stewart?
ARD.
Yeah, oh, ARD.
Just a second. I gotta take a call. Hold on, sorry. All right, sorry about that. Trying to get a new pickup. So yeah, gotta talk to finance people. Thank you. Anyway, we're still on the record. You may proceed at this time, Ms. Hubbard. Sorry about that.
Your Honor, I don't have any more questions for Ms. Belvin, but I do have a follow-up question for Mr. Hatches now.
About that name thing. Okay. All right. What's okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you want Ms. Valadares to have a chance to redirect as well?
Yes, I'm sorry. We got out of order with Mr. Brimhall, and yeah, I'm sorry. Miss Valadares, any other questions of Miss John Baptiste Belvin?
No, Judge, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. All right. I'm sorry, Ms. Hubbard. You can call both of them as witnesses, or one of them as the witnesses at this time. It's your call at this time. I'm calling next witness.
Your Honor, I'd like to recall Mr. Hatches. Sir, why do you want Hezekiah to have a last name that does not match yours currently?
Because my original last name is hyphenated, Hatches and Stewart. My mother's name is Hatches. My father's name is Stewart.
Okay, so this would be a current legal name you have. We just didn't have you listed as Hatches - Stewart.
That's correct.
I pass a witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get closing. Is there any, I'm sorry, any other, I know there shouldn't be, but at this time, are there any other witnesses that are going to be called by anyone? Thank you. Mr. Bramwell, you're muted.
Sorry, I have a follow-up question on his name, just quickly. Is your last name currently Hatches - Stewart, or was it previously Hatches - Stewart?
It has changed back and forth. When I got in the military, it was hyphenated, and then they dropped the Stewart, and I carried Hatches. So now on my driver's license, it just says Hatches, but my full social says Hatches - Stewart.
Okay, all right. Was there an order that changed it?
It was when I got in the military. Yeah, I had to change it because they wouldn't allow it. It was too long on my name tape, so I just dropped it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, nothing like that. You don't want a name tag that offers a target for somebody, Mr. Bramhall. Okay, it's that big. All right.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. That's it. Okay. That's good.
All right. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and let Miss John Baptiste. Man, you got too many names. John Baptiste Belvin. Ma'am, is there anything else that before we do closing statements, is there anything else you think I need to know, or any information as far as testimony that you want to give at this time that didn't come out already?
I would like to state in regards to Mr. Hatch's testimony when they asked him, was he ever had a criminal record? Even though everybody's bringing mine to light, I feel like his as well should have been brought to light, because he has been convicted for a felony as well. And as well as he was discharged out the military other than honorable. And I've been inquiring about his VA status for his son as well, to see if he was on his benefits, and never just informed anybody about it.
I'm going to object to the entry of any information about a felony so old that it predates the relationship.
All right. And here's the deal, ma'am. You can't testify to something someone else has told you. You can only testify to what you're an eyewitness to, as far as that information is concerned, or that Mr. Hatches told you directly. So again, ma'am, is there anything else you want to tell the court at this point based on those criteria?
Oh, I'm sorry, Yana. I didn't know that, because I do have the Colleen, Daily Herald report about him being arrested for it, as well as I do have some of the public records of him in court as well. And I have submitted some evidence to Mr. Brimhall on my behalf that he never established. And I do also want to go over the protective order, in which that protective order, when we went to court, I was not found family violent, because I was not ordered family violence classes. As to when Mr. Hatches, he actually filed it, and he was under the influence of alcohol. I do have a statement from a relative about how he is an alcoholic as well.
Ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Again, you cannot introduce statements from third parties. That's hearsay. Sorry.
Well, I do have a picture of him with a beer bottle in his hand as well, sir.
Well, yes, ma'am. But that proves he had a beer bottle in his hand. If you have that picture, that's fine. But that's all it proves, ma'am.
Well, I understand, but I used to deal with this man, and he really is an alcoholic. And if I need to call a witness who has been around us as well and seen him drinking back to back, if I would be allowed to, they would come and testify on that behalf too. Even when I picked my son up the last time, Mr. Hatches was driving under the influence with my child.
And what did you do about that, ma'am?
Honestly, Your Honor, I couldn't even get his license plate and information down in time. And I did not call the police as I should have because he was already gone. He took off before I could get that information.
Okay. All right. Anything else, ma'am?
And also in regards to my case, yes, I have been found convicted. 2 of the charges were dropped. And I am on probation for 5 years. I do have an appeal and I'm waiting upon it. I am in therapy and I'm under MHMR. I have all that in play, as well as I'm also taking parenting classes to help involve myself so I could be a better mom for my child. I do not believe Mr. Hatcher should have sole custody of my child at all. I've been there since birth. Mr. Hatches could not be there for birth because I spoke with his doctor in regards to the protective order. He said if there's one in play, he cannot show up. I have not kept Mr. Hatches from his child even before child support was in play. And I do have pictures of that as well, of him and his father at my aunt's house visiting my son. And also, I want to encounter that incident of his birthday where he was supposed to, child support was not in place, and he was attempting to take my child so he could have full custody instead of letting the court handle it. And he never showed up to the birthday party. He tried to lure me to allow him to have my son so he would not bring him back.
All right.
And my aunt did intervene. Oh, I'm sorry. And my aunt did intervene and say, no, sir, until child support is in effect, you cannot take him, because we was not sure if he was going to give him back. I do believe that Mr. Hatches has left my son unattended with his father.
Okay,
Who does
stop. Okay, ma'am. Did you witness what you're getting ready to tell the court?
No, sir.
All right, you can't tell the court that, ma'am.
Okay.
Again, you're speculating. Sorry.
Thank you, Judge. I was gonna make the objection. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, again, she's got a right to give the court her take on everything. But again, ma'am, it's got to be what you're an eyewitness to, okay? And it's not what your aunt saw. It's not what someone else told you. It's only what you are an eyewitness to when you're dealing with specifics like that. Thank you. Yes,
sir. And if I could be honest, as an eyewitness, yes, Mr. Hatches is an alcoholic. I could be eyewitness to that as myself. Okay. And also to the fact of, I'm not too sure about when the daughter came into play. That's a news to me. Congratulations. But I also would state that Mr. Hatch is taking my son to different events where it needs water. And I am concerned about that because—
I'm sorry, ma'am, what was that last part? I couldn't hear you. To places that were what?
That intervenes, like theme parks. Like he said, he took him to Typhoon Water Park and things like that. He took him to the lake at one point. And I do have concerns about that. I'm not saying he cannot enjoy his son, but I do have real concerns in regards to that because Mr. Hatches cannot swim. And my child doesn't know how to swim. And that's one thing I've been trying to get him into is swimming lessons. But since he's with his father on the summer, that's kind of hard. But I do have concerns about that he puts him in jeopardy because of that. Now, as regards to Mr. Hatches being shot, that's beyond me. I wasn't there, but—
Okay, ma'am, don't speculate on anything you don't know. If you aren't there, you're not a witness, and unless there's some type of court record that can come in and shows what's going on at that point, then no, ma'am, you can't even start on that one. Sorry.
No, sir, I don't, but I do know that he represents bike life, as he stated, and I have pictures of that, of him being the bike affiliate.
Sustained. Okay, ma'am. Again, don't go down that path. Again, unless you actually saw him do something as a biker, unless you're an eyewitness or something, or you helped him with something, then no, ma'am, you can't go down that path.
Oh, well, yes, sir. I was around when he had bikes. He had plenty of them in the garage. He was working on them. He had.
Okay, ma'am. I'm sorry. Are you trying to testify to say he was doing something illegal as a biker, or just he's a biker? That's I don't know. So some of my deputies, a couple of my deputies are motorcyclists. Okay, that's just that's not illegal.
Oh no, sir. I have not. I'm not going to sit here and deny that him being just a biker, but there has been some affiliates of him biking, and I have been there when he was biking and riding. But as far as illegal things, I have concerns that they were exchanges of the bikes that were done illegally, and
you got no proof of that, correct, ma'am?
No, sir.
All right, again, ma'am, don't even go there. Sorry, you can't speculate. You just can't. Okay. Only tell the courts witness facts. Thank you.
Well, okay, and I'm not gonna lie. I can't speculate. I have seen it, but I don't have the proof for it. But I did see him alter people's vehicles, and I've seen that, and that was not right. And and that was going to cause somebody's safety. And also, other than that, like I said, Yana, I do not feel he should have sole custody. I would like to leave it at joint custody and leave things as is. As far as my parenting and how things go, me and Hezekiah are fine. He's working out his situation. He isn't in daycare. He is in school, and he's getting enrolled to KISD next year. And he has to have a test run through SPED as well. And that is also being set up. And other than that, it's good to go, Your Honor.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much. I'm counting that was some testimony. That was some closing arguments. So I'm going to count them as each at this point. But this time, I'm going to go ahead and let the attorneys make their closing statements. And I'm just going to give y'all a few minutes here because I got to get back. My car person's calling me back in a few. So at 12:30. So let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and take closing statements at this time, closing arguments. Thank you.